This Take Two Tuesday revisits a series of commercials I cut for an ad agency quite some time ago and a very valuable lesson I learned. Now, this project just wouldn't end. And when I say it wouldn't end, I mean it started out as a edit that was supposed to last a few weeks, and then it turned into months and months and close to a full year of post. Now, we changed everything. And when I say everything, I mean music over and over again. Country, classical, rap, hip hop, R&B. Then we flipped shots upside down just for the sake of, quote, trying it and to see how it, quote, feels. There were so many people involved from the agency side that it honestly felt so oversaturated and just wasteful. We could have fired at least 30 people in the production department and it wouldn't have made a single difference in the outcome of the actual creative of the project. No one knew what they wanted. No one knew how to do their job. And it was just a kind of clusterfuck of a project. Now, this is when I would often get frustrated as an editor, because as an editor, I like things to be efficient, I like to make solid decisions, I like to move forward, and I like to finish the job and cross the finish line with some reasonable time once a project begins. But this project was the exact opposite of that. It was disorganized, it was chaotic, and it felt like we were just spinning our wheels and spinning in circles and living in no man's land. Now, there's one thing when you make a bad decision, but it's worse to make no decision at all. And this was floundering, executives having meetings, conference calls. I remember one day I walked into the job thinking I was going to start cutting again, and we had a 7-hour meeting to discuss the different approach we were going to take on a 30-second commercial that had already been shot and in the can and was in the post-production stages. One day, I'm venting about all of this to the owner of the post house I was working at, and he said to me, "What are you going on about?" And I said, "What do you mean? This thing is dragging on forever. It's completely unorganized, inefficient, and it's an absolute waste of time." And he said to me, "Yes, but are they paying you for every one of those revisions and every one of those days worked?" And I said, "Well, yes, of course." And then he followed it up by saying, "Are they paying you well?" And I said, "Yes, very well." And then he just looked at me and goes, "Then who cares?" And you know what? That actually hit me right then and there because he was right. Now, any person with a good head on their shoulders wants to do good work. And of course, you want things to be efficient, organized, and creatively strong. But at the end of the day, this is a business, and sometimes you have to just treat it like that. If a client wants to be indecisive, if they want to go in circles, if they want to spend weeks trying things that you can get done in hours that doesn't make sense, well, then that's on them, not you. And in this situation, I was making it harder on myself than I needed to be. I was the one pushing back. I was the one getting frustrated. I was letting their dysfunction affect my attitude. And honestly, it didn't need to. Looking back, the better move would have been simple, to be a little bit easier to work with, maybe a little bit more friendly, and just do the work and cash those checks. Because the reality is, you're not always hired to fix the process. Sometimes you're just hired to execute the commands that come from above, even when they are misguided. And if the client wants to pay you so they could learn on the job for months and years, well, then let them. That doesn't mean you don't care. It just means you understand the difference between craft and business. That was a lesson I had to learn a little bit the hard way. But looking back, I can easily say my heart was in the right place and I was not looking to gouge these people out of every dollar and cent they were willing to pay. But now, as I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser, I don't chime in as much when someone wants to just edit endlessly, as long as those checks keep clearing.